Hello everyone, welcome to my garage. Figured I'd take a minute, take a break from the realities of the world. This last week's been very trying on the community. While I don't quite work at or am an employee of the site here in Washington State, but the site that I work at as a vendor and I am at every day had a pretty bad chemical incident. So lots of just sadness all around in that. So today I decided I'm gonna come out to my garage and I'm gonna do what I love and work on the cars. And really this video is about the B8, B8.5 platform Audis and H&R springs. So I'm going to share with you guys my experience here. I was apprehensive about getting them, but H&R works in every single platform. I've never had it not work in any car. There's been a lot of comments on the internet, Facebook, wherever you look, that the H&R springs are bouncy in the B8, B8.5 platform. I bought them anyway, thinking, how can I go wrong, right? H&R springs, frickin', I put them in the first pair of those I've ever put in was in a 1979 Scirocco. I think that was 1990. Yeah, so been a while. I've put H&R in every single car, every car. Mark IV GTIs, BMW M3, Mini Coopers, Audis, every Audi platform. Everything. I had them in my Volkswagen R32 and had them in my Corrado. Had them in just about every car. And I always go with a Bilstein sport strut made for the lowered height of the cars, or Coneys. I've only messed with Coneys a few times. I did H&R and Coneys in my E36 M3 with direction from Turner Motorsports. They lined me out on what parts to get as far as some of the upgrades, bushings, the appropriate shock in the rear so that I could adjust it externally rather than with Coneys, you got to compress the shock, twist them, set your dampening. Actually, it's compression. So I put them in my SQ5, and guess what? Even though the instructions did not mention anything about cutting rubber or the bump stops, I cut ½ inch out, thinking 1 inch lower on the H&Rs over stock, ½ inch should do some good. Well, it was bouncy. It rode decent, but it was bouncy, and the car kind of exaggerated, maybe we'll say. When you went over the bumps, or not the road, the imperfections of the road, where the road may dip to one side or the other, instead of the suspension just absorbing it and the car just kind of slightly being affected by it, it would actually, I felt like it was like following that contour of the road. And when you're hauling balls and probably driving faster on the street than you should, those things upset the car. So I finally decided to do something about it today, and I cut the bump stops more, and a huge improvement. So I am going to flip the video here and show you my garage, show you, what I've done, and kind of just talk more to the H&R brand as far as how I still feel they are the absolute best out there. I've messed with other suspensions, like the Bilstein coilovers, the nicest coilovers you can buy. I've had in my R32, for instance. And for street, I don't think a coilover is the right suspension. I think you want a traditional spring strut shock combo, and it's always been great. I swapped my R32 over. It's a Mark 5 R32. I swapped it back over to an H&R spring and Bilstein's, and the compliance on the road is so much better. So it's always going to be my go-to. And I really think if you just do some modifications that are otherwise not maybe in the pamphlet that you get with the springs, you can make things better. You know, every Mark IV I've ever put an H&R spring in, I've cut half a coil out of the rear. Always cut that half coil. Doesn't matter. Probably, you know, for myself and customers, I've probably done 30 of those cars over the years. And that's what I do. I cut them just right from the get-go. Otherwise, to me, it's got too much rake. So I just cut that half coil with a friction blade on a saw and call it a day. Never have any problems. So with that, I am going to flip the video around, get it off of me, because yeah, I don't do this. This is my first one. So like, subscribe, whatever, I don't care. I don't do this for monetary value or anything. I do this to help. I do car stuff. I do stuff with Jeeps. I do mountain bike stuff. Any which way that I can find a solution to some problems out there on the internet that people have been having or expressing or something like that. If I find something that works, that's successful, I'm going to share it. So that's what this is about, guys. So thanks for watching, and yeah, stay tuned for the next half of this video. Okay, guys, here we are. This is my garage. So I have a lot of pride in this. I did all this myself too. Something else I've done, I did the full remodel on this garage, everything. Here we are. I want to share my Porsche Cayman. Let's talk about H&R springs again. I put H&R springs and Coney struts in this. This does not have the suspension travel that Audi right there should have, right? Should not. It does not. No way. And I lowered it with H&R sport springs. And it, believe it or not, was riding better on the street over the bumps than that car right there. After all new control arms, brand new struts, rear shocks, springs, all the work. What I did end up doing is cutting the bump stops. This particular car, yeah, I cut the bump stops on it too. I cut them in about half, and it rides phenomenal. So it handles the road so well. So the Audi, yeah, I was annoyed. I was so annoyed. I'm like, what the shit? Why is this car handling so bad? Super bouncy. Okay. What do we do? What do we do to fix this? I mean, what tells me is when we start screwing with the suspension, you go down lower, you know, you can't expect the bump stop stack to be effective with the suspension when you're lowering your ride height, but you're not doing anything about, oops, tape measure, guys. So you're not doing anything about the bump stops that you gotta believe are stacked too high. I mean, you change that gap, and you still have bump stops set for a car that's an inch higher, I gotta believe that something's gotta get in the way, and it sure does. 100% does. So here's what I'm gonna do. Put these are the pieces I cut off. I'm gonna set them here. And what I'm gonna do, like I said, I cut a 1/2 inch off of these right from the get-go. Installed, and I jacked up the car today, set it back down in the front, and I noticed, yeah, sure enough, it's landing on the bump stops. I mean, we're full on riding on bump stops. We're not riding on springs. So I knew I was on the right track. So what I did is, keep in mind I cut 1/2 inch out already. This is an additional 1.5 inches, right? I mean, you guys can see that, right? That's an additional 1.5 inches. So I did that on both of these, right? Front and rear. Just cut, this is the front, and that one's actually, let's look. You know, yeah, that's an honest 1.5 inches. So I cut an honest 2 inches off the factory bump stops. Right now, there is basically that much bump stop still available. And I gotta believe that is gonna protect my shocks to full bottoming out sufficiently. So, especially if it's a performance car, right? If you're not hauling a bunch of stuff in these cars and stuff like that, you don't really need to have that much to absorb bottoming out. I mean, performance driving for most 99% of the world, it's going to be fine unless you hit that big pothole. And then I don't think anything's going to do anything. So that's what I did. I took this car for a drive after I cut those out, and I just used a retractable breakaway razor knife, you know. That was real easy. I used my quick jacks, put the car up in the air, and went in here with the tires still on there. Same here, went up in there. Just went right at the bump stop. Yeah, it's not gonna focus up in there where you can see that very well. So that's what I did. And the car rides so much better now. So much better now. I mean, it is awesome. Awesome, awesome. So, for those of you that I have seen that have had this suspension package and hated it, and even swapped it out to other brands and stuff like that, you know what? Cut your bump stops. Reach up in there, take the time, do what you can, get the car safely in the air so the suspension's, there's no load on the suspension. I would try to get the front up all at once, and then the rear up all at once. Don't go side to side. Do end to end, or get the whole car up in the air so that suspension is totally not loaded and you guys can work safely. Cut those down. Made a world of difference. Even, here, I'll zoom in. Even driving off of my driveway onto the road right there is better. Like, I could tell. I knew I was on bump stops. And sure enough. So don't scrap your suspension if you've gone this route. Give it a chance. Cut your bump stops. I mean, what's the worst that can happen if you honestly don't like it? You're going to put new suspension in anyway. Buy new bump stops. You have to take it apart anyway. What do you have to lose? That's kind of where I was, right? What do I have to lose? I mean, if I cut too much out and I need bump stop, then I'll just take it apart and put new ones in. You know, who cares? So, thanks for joining me here. I'm just trying to share. I have tons of hobbies. I mean, you can see RC cars, crawlers, freaking die-cast cars, small crawlers. Just, I do it all. class 1 mountain bikes, just whatever. So that's what I do here in my spare time. This is fun. I want to share, and I want to help anyone that can get any bit of information out of what I do. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope it was a help. I hope it was informational. And, you guys have fun what you do. Frickin' have fun doing what you do, and enjoy it. Thanks.